This is the brief on the DeepSeek API deadline. Every app relying on legacy DeepSeek AI models is going to completely break this Thursday, July 24, 2026, unless you make a crucial code update right now. First, there's the hard cutoff. APIs are basically how your app talks to the AI. And on Thursday, at exactly 15:59 UTC, the old models deepseek-chat and deepseek-reasoner are permanently retired. There's no grace period, just instant 404 errors. It's exactly like a bridge being instantly demolished at a specific minute. If you don't take the new exit, your app goes right off the cliff. Second, the silent twist. DeepSeek secretly redirected these old models to their new V4 Flash architecture back on April 24. Crucially, deepseek-reasoner was routed to Flash's thinking mode, not the expensive V4 Pro model. So what does this all mean for your bill? Well, you've actually been paying ultra-cheap V4 Flash rates, just 14 cents per million input tokens for 3 months without even realizing it. This cost dominance is a real game changer. Finally, beware the migration trap. The fix is a simple one-line code swap to DeepSeek V4 Flash or DeepSeek V4 Pro for complex reasoning, which costs 12 times more. But reasoning is now a parameter toggle, not a model name. If you don't explicitly enable that thinking parameter, your app silently loses its reasoning capabilities. It's kind of like buying a brand new smart TV, but forgetting to connect the Wi-Fi. It looks fine, but the brain is totally missing. Update your API calls today, because when 15:59 UTC hits on Thursday, you want your stack running smoothly on this hyper-efficient new AI frontier, not staring at a wall of error codes.
Welcome to the Explainer. Look, let's just dive straight into this critical update, because if you are routing AI workloads right now, you are literally on a ticking clock. And I mean a very real, fast-approaching ticking clock. We're looking at a hard deprecation deadline from DeepSeek that is going to fundamentally break applications if it's ignored. I want you to imagine opening your laptop this Thursday morning. You grab your coffee, you sit down, and boom, you are immediately hit with a flood of production errors. Your app is throwing ungraceful 404s or 400 bad requests across the board. Every single call is failing, and you realize you missed a critical migration deadline by exactly 4 minutes. Sadly, that is the reality facing thousands of developers right now. But hey, if you've been frantically searching for DeepSeek API migration or deepseek-chat deprecated, take a breath. You are in exactly the right place to save your stack. Today, we're going to walk through exactly what's breaking, a massive silent shift that has already happened right under your nose, and the exact steps you need to take today to keep everything running smoothly. So let's start by looking at this hard deadline. Let's look closely at the actual timeline and the mechanics of this cutoff, because this is the immediate threat looming over everyday AI developers. The old DeepSeek-chat and deepseek-reasoner endpoints are being permanently retired this Thursday at exactly 15:59 UTC. And I really need to stress this, there is zero grace period, none. There are no silent fallbacks being implemented behind the scenes. If your system makes a call to those legacy aliases at 1600 UTC, it simply fails, full stop. Now, the crazy irony of this whole thing is that the migration itself is technically trivial. We're essentially just talking about a single string replacement in your model parameter. Your base URL stays the exact same, your authentication doesn't change, the request format is completely identical, but failing to do it guarantees a total service disruption. Literally, one line of code is all that stands between a working app and a massive outage. So the crucial point here is this 4-step developer checklist. First, audit your code immediately. Grep your entire repository, your .env files, and your LMM gateway routers for those old names. Second, obviously swap out the strings. Third, run your regression tests, especially if you rely on tool calling, which, by the way, is now supported in both thinking and non-thinking modes. And fourth, and this is super important, check your billing tab immediately. Why check your billing? Well, that actually brings us to the hidden twist in all of this. Get this, you might actually already be migrated and just not realize it yet. A lot of devs are going to be completely caught off guard by this next part. Since April 24th, the day DeepSeek V4 launched, they have been silently routing your legacy calls over to the new V4 Flash architecture as part of a 90-day compatibility window. If you've been calling DeepSeek-chat, it's been routing to V4 Flash in non-thinking mode. And if you've been calling deepseek-reasoner, it actually hasn't been routing to V4 Pro like so many people assume. It's been routing to V4 Flash in thinking mode. So honestly, if your app has been stable since April, the great news is that your workload likely runs perfectly fine on Flash. But that silent routing definitely comes with a catch. Just last Monday, a sauce backend engineer found 14,000 daily production calls still blindly hitting the legacy endpoint. They were completely unaware that their outputs and their billing had actually been running on Flash for 3 months. Since late April, those calls have been billed at V4 Flash rates, which is 14 cents per million cache miss input tokens, meaning tokens the system hasn't seen and memorized recently. If you haven't checked your billing dashboard lately, seriously, you need to go look right now. Oh, and here is a massive trap you absolutely need to avoid. If you just go in and rename your model to V4-Flash without explicitly defining this extra underscore body parameter, you will silently strip away all the reasoning and chain of thought processing from your app. The API won't even throw an error. It will just return a response completely missing the deep reasoning your application depends on. You have to use the extra underscore body parameter to explicitly turn on thinking mode. Okay, so that leads us to the big decision. Flash or Pro? How do you actually choose your migration path moving forward? Because DeepSeek V4 isn't just one model, it's a diverging path. It's a fundamental architectural leap. Both models feature this massive 1 million token context window, but they scale very differently. V4 Flash operates with 13 billion active parameters out of a 284 billion total pool. It is your incredibly cheap workhorse for standard everyday tasks. On the flip side, V4 Pro scales up to a staggering 1.6 trillion total parameters with 49 billion active. That is your heavy lifter for complex, multi-step reasoning and really intense code generation. But here's the kicker. Pro costs roughly 12 times more than Flash on output. So the practical decision framework here is really simple. Default to Flash. Since deepseek-reasoner was already mapping to Flash in thinking mode anyway, just start there. You should only escalate to Pro if your specific quality evaluations prove that Flash just isn't cutting it for your workload. Don't just pick Pro because the name sounds better, test the incredibly affordable Flash first. And hey, if you're standardizing on Claude or using Anthropic SDKs, DeepSeek has made this incredibly painless. You can actually use their Anthropic-compatible endpoint to make this migration totally seamless without needing any translation middleware whatsoever. It is literally just a 2-environment variable swap. They are actively removing every possible friction point for developers to adopt these models. Finally, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Why does this seemingly routine developer housekeeping actually matter on a global scale? Because this is about so much more than just a model rename. Thanks to highly aggressive caching and constrained mixture of experts architectures, which just means the AI only activates the specific neural pathways needed for a given prompt, DeepSeek is undercutting Western frontier models by up to 50 times the cost. Just look at this contrast. GPT 5.5 charges about $15 per million output tokens. DeepSeek V4 Flash, 28 cents. It is a completely different universe of pricing for frontier-level performance. And this massive price disparity is exactly why 46% of US enterprise AI workloads are now flowing to Chinese alternatives. We're not talking about a slight discount here. It is fundamentally shifting global AI economics. When you can suddenly get a 1 million token context window and tool-capable reasoning for literally pennies, entirely new, previously uneconomical AI workloads just instantly become viable for businesses. What we're neutrally observing here is a massive macroeconomic earthquake. High-speed agentic AI is becoming a cheap, easily accessible commodity rather than this scarce, wildly expensive resource. And Thursday's deadline is really just the technical mechanism enforcing this broader shift. The Chinese AI sector is iterating at lightning speed, and developers everywhere are adapting to this new reality. Look, the AI race is accelerating so fast that production deadlines now arrive with a mere 3 months' notice. And as we've seen, most teams are still missing them. You have to stay ahead of the curve. So will you be ready the next time an API deprecates overnight? Make sure you subscribe to ensure you never miss an explainer before a hard deadline hits your production servers. Keep your stacks safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.